Everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can create for yourself at home this amazing fan art of a handmaid's tale. Now, this is part of the 13 days of Sherpaween or Halloween, where from October 1st to October 13th, I bring to you a new spooky and scary painting. And when I was trying to come up with the idea for this, I was like, what has really shook me in the past, and Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale was definitely something that shook me and caught my imagination and has stayed with me over the years. We're going to have a great time painting this. I'm so excited to know why you wanted to come and paint this, and definitely in the comments tell me why you were excited to paint this with me today. I'm going to go over everything with you, every step, every color mix. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
He is going to be here being super supportive and sweet and making sure the cameras are pointing at what I'm teaching, explaining, or demonstrating so that you guys can really see it, because what you can see, you can create for yourself at home. There's really nothing else to do here but get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me at the easel right now. Together, we're going to paint The Handmaid's Tale. So for today's gorgeous painting, I put a 12 by 12 canvas on my easel. I have on my palette Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo Blue, Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Quinacridone Magenta, Dioxazine Purple, Titanium White. This little gloop here is satin glazing liquid. It is a slow drying extender for acrylic colors. It just slows down the drying time of my paint and allows me to glaze. I like it very much. It works a little better than water. It's just very helpful. You don't have to have it. It's helpful when you're blending. And I have titanium white and fluid acrylic. This is going to be helpful for the little bits where we splatter the snow with the toothbrush. So I've got that out here. All right, when we come back, we will begin with step one. So I'm going to kind of want to block up what's going on in my painting. So I will take my phthalo blue and my ultramarine blue together and a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to make kind of a dark gray blue, and we'll come to, if this is the halfway point, we'll come down a little bit, and we're going to just very carefully lay in where our snow is gotta be, kind of space where Offred is walking. And paint that all in kind of a blue. Doesn't have to be neat or tidy. This is kind of called an underpainting. And it's the rough blocking in. Now listen, you can use the traceable at a couple stages. In this, you can use it for the figure,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you can also use it to orient the woods if you need to. Because we have both, just the figure and the woods. Because we're like that. All right. That looks pretty good. Might move this up just a smidge, not too much. Not too much. Now over here, I'm going to get into my phthalo blue and Mars black and a little bit of white. I want this to be gray, distinctly gray, but with a slight blue cast. Coming up, kind of arcing over. Let's make sure we have that on the other side. Nice blue-gray. And you see I'm just being kind of rough with it at this stage. I'm not even that worried. I'm almost scribbling with the brush. Because at some point you've just got to get certain things in. Now I'm going to take my brush and kind of wipe it with my towel and grab a little of my white and make a very light gray. Kind of blending it into this.
Building up that keyhole.
We're going to build up that keyhole.
cool effect.
Gonna blend that in, scribble that in, right? I'm gonna rinse out really thoroughly. I'm gonna grab a little bit of my white and some of my cad yellow. Start to come into the center here. And I'm blending that in. Again, we're just working that keyhole. So it's kind of messy at this stage. Blend it here. And just bring it across. Scruffy, scruffy, scrumble, scrumble. And it's okay for it to be kind of rough and difficult to read at this stage. Bring in a little more white and yellow here. I am using number 10 Simply Simmons Bright. I forgot to announce the brush again at the beginning of the step.
Well, you know what?
Number 10 Simply Simmons Bright Hog Bristle Brush.
One of the good things is we hide that in the description below sometimes.
We do. We hide it in the description below.
Now, this is interesting. This is you're fond of this number 10 size.
Yes, I am.
In both bright and filbert.
I like that size in
What?
certain brush lines because some brush lines number 10s are teeny tiny or giant and jumbo.
Why did
But
you
I like the ones that tend to keep it about an inch wide.
How come you used the bristle there?
I guess it gave me a nice scruffy, scratchy texture, and I'm just scritching it in.
You're sketching it.
Scritching it in.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We're going to dry this, and we come back, I'll tell you what we do next. So I'm going to come back in here, and I definitely want this to have a bit more of a yellow cast instead of a green cast. So I'm going to come back with a little bit of my yellow and white. And I'm going to come right around here and just bring out a little bit of the yellow and white again. This will start to soften. We're going to soften the scritchiness. I'm coming over lightly. Just very lightly. Now I'm going to come up here and get just a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red. I very carefully blend here. Wipe my brush off. And I wipe the towel, taking all the extra paint. And that will let me kind of come in here and blend a little bit. I can use glazing medium and stuff like that, but a lot of times, as long as I'm working wet into wet and get that going, I'm still using the number 10. Now I'm going to come down here and take again a little bit of my black and blue. And I'm going to come in from this little corner. And this might be quite dark. And then as I move forward, it might be a little bit lighter. And I'm going to come here and very softly dry brush in. Which is going to resonate as like maybe low bushes.
Yeah.
Doing little circles with my brush. Touching it in, I'm letting it be kind of like loose and light here. Do a similar deal. A little bit of the black and blue here. Darker, darker, darker. And then as I'm coming up, I'm going to take the black and blue again. Add a little bit of white to it. Kind of blend it down into this dark shadow. And I'm going to just wiggle out. An expression of irregular foliage. Now we've got lots and lots of stuff happening up here. I'm just making sure that behind the trees there's this sort of arcing color that we play against. Rinse out a little bit. A little bit of red over to my yellow. A little bit of that white in there. I'll bring this kind of back into the little tree area. We have a lot of business going in front, so don't have to do the best work of my life there.
All this would be just softly out of focus anyway.
All of this is just softly out of focus anyways. A little bit of white into it. Bring that back up this way. I'm going to bring a little bit of my white and yellow together. Come back in and make this kind of irregular too. Wiggle that back in. Just playing, keeping it irregular. Tapping my little brush up and down. I'm making kind of bush style shapes or silhouettes through all of this and create kind of irregular little moments. Kind of in and out and in and out, in and out, in and out, right? That's how we're kind of thinking about that. All right, the next thing we're going to want to do is dry everything. So I'm going to want to add some little inner trees. I'm going to take a number 6 Raphael sepia round, and I'm going to get my blue-gray color on it, which is my phthalo blue. In this case, I'm going to grab also a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of Mars black. Glazing liquid to improve it. So this should be a little bit lighter than this background. We're going to start planting in little trees. Now, the only problem with doing the best tree of your life here is that we're going to have a big giant figure there, and so we just want little trees to peek out around our figure.
Right. These are just nice little distant. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting that because they're so brightly lit behind them, you've gone with gray instead of black.
Well, these are more in the light, so they have to be lighter.
Yeah, they'd be kind of washed out from the.
Yeah, from the light coming in. And then as the trees get out, they'll get darker and darker and darker. I wipe my little brush out. Make sure there's not too much paint in it. Just a few little trees. Now these will be like behind some other like little big trees and twigs and things. Okay. Once you have a little run of twiggles in, we're going to dry everything. When we come back, I'll show you what you do next. So now I'm going to want to take my round hog bristle brush. This is a number 8. Let me make sure that's an 8 so I don't say 6 when it's an 8. It's definitely an 8. Round D'Artagnan brush. I've gotten a little bit wet, and I'm going to take some of my Doc's purple and my Cad red together. Make a nice deep burgundy. Start putting this dark foliage back here. A little bit of that. I'm doing a similar thing where I'm going in and out and I'm making little random foliage spots. This will be peeking behind trees and bushes and things. So, like, one of the interesting things about this particular scene that I'm doing is that this is not from the book. I'm not going to do any spoilers, like I said, but this isn't from the book.
Right.
This is actually inspired by the TV show, this particular scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, sort of visual that I saw. I mean, like, not that the book did not conjure similar imagery, certainly did. But sometimes when you're doing fan art, you have a lot to work from. This book came out, it was written in East Berlin in 1984, before the wall came down. Like, I think about that, you know, that Margaret Atwood went there to write this book was actually pretty brave when you think about that time in
Yeah.
history. People,
Oh,
like, there were people with guns on that wall. It was a scary, scary time. And I think that that definitely colored the energy. I mean, 1984, the book was pretty scary, but The Handmaid's Tale, way scarier. Way scarier, you know. So sometimes, though, when we're doing fan art like I'm doing right now, you'll have both a book, you could have songs, you could have comics, and you can have TV shows that start to create that sense of. Let's bring this down here. Got lots of trees to bring in and everything, but I just want to make sure that I got good low bushes.
those are quite nice shrubberies.
Shrubberies. Shrubberies on the run. But one of the things that I liked from the TV show was the scenery of the handmaids in snow. Was just really powerful, the red against the white.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then also this whole idea of being red was very desperate. Because,
Huh.
it's very hard to hide in red, which was like the whole point of red.
Right.
Well, there were other points of red, there were other meanings to the red, but like in a practical sense, is that where are you going to go? People can see you.
Especially if you're the only one wearing red.
Right. It makes you kind of a target. So that was like one of the things that was really kind of scary is the idea that, you were sort of saddled with this experience, no matter how you felt about it. So it's kind of very dystopian future, though Margaret calls it speculative fiction. One doesn't let him call it fiction.
Huh.
So they have to call it speculative fiction.
Right. Because it's not.
Well, she based everything in her book, right, which ends way before the TV show, which is the other reason I'm not doing spoilers for the books or the TV show. But the book ends way before the TV show. Is that everything in the book happened in real life at some point in history. That's why she calls it speculative fiction. It's
Right.
because she uses real life examples of things that really happen to real people in the real world across many cultures and many times. Just imagine if everything bad that ever happened to women happened all at once.
It was
Like
like a
the
bad time burrito.
Yeah, a bad time burrito.
All of the ingredients rolled up. You
And
just
then also, this sort of construct. It's got a very children of men kind of problem set, and this idea of the human race being in danger.
maybe it's a deep fried burrito.
It's
Is
a
that
deep fried suck burrito.
it's because there's a lot of
So I know a lot of people will have like strong reactions to this particular fan art. I know that, but I think that's a lot because of current events and not so much that this very established book.
this is very Halloweeny though.
Well, I did this digital design last year,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, "Oh, will you paint it? Will you paint it? Will you paint it?" And I said, "Well, I'll do it for the 13 days of Halloween because I can't imagine anything scarier." So since I said that, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna be doing it this year. And it's a hard one to do, but I'm excited about it. See if it comes out. I hope it comes out really good. I don't know at this moment it's going to come out. But if you're seeing it, obviously I've decided it came out because I've released the video to you. But right now, this could be one of those mini paintings where I like get in the middle of it. I'm like, nope, nope, nope. So, when you guys are questioning right now in the lesson, I don't know if what I'm going to do is going to come out. Know that I'm there with you, sometimes having to question in the lesson myself. I don't know if this is going to come out. I'm having the same experience. I have a little more confidence because I've done a lot of paintings, and I know that if I just keep working my layers and working my design and all of that, that the chances that it will come out are incredibly high.
Mm.
But I still have that experience that you guys all have of just like not knowing. Now, notice that I'm keeping these as very regular shapes. I leave holes and broken areas, there's broken opens, because you want to have in your trees, whenever you're doing your trees, you want one of my very favorite sayings is you want room for the birds to fly through it and the squirrels to live in the tree. They cannot be a solid lollipop because, you know,
That makes sense.
can't get it there. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my red and a little bit of my yellow. And kind of mix it over here into my dioxazine. And a little more yellow. You see how we're lightening the trees as they come in? Taps, all the leaves. I like using the dioxazine as a mother color in the trees because it'll help pop all of this stuff as it grows out. Just a little, well, that was a lot of dioxazine. A little more red. So I want it to be orange. I definitely want it to be orange, but I want it to have a little bit of tinting in it.
All right.
Now I may come through here and still add bright, bright, bright oranges and reds. Probably will. Landing out little leaves. Touch my little brush. A lot of times I'll like really try to leave a lot of opening.
Yeah.
Back into here. Not looking too bad. All right, now we're going to want to dry everything and we come back. We'll talk a little bit more about Margaret Atwood and we'll continue to paint and I will continue to show you how to create this for yourself. All right, so I'm going to continue on with my number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan round brush. And I'm going to take a little of my cad yellow and a smidge of my cad red and make a nice light orange. But it is orange. It is definitively and distinctly orange. And I'm going to very carefully add some highlights. Just around in a little tree, little leaves, little pops of color in the leaves, brighter. Maybe a little bit over here. Just tap some down here. Just up and down little tapping. Little leaf taps. You gotta love the little leaves, leaves, leaves. Gotta love the little leaves, 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 leaves. So we got a nice little highlight and we've got shadows in our leaves. Come over here and continue on just this brighter affectation of leaf. It's definitely brighter towards the light. Little cad red, little cad yellow. So this is just a bright, more saturated color of what's underneath. Like just coming through there and giving it more dimensionality, you know? Though I think winter scenes like this are in some ways, even though they're really beautiful, their starkness can be a little bit unnerving too. So I think it will add to the elements of this.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Fun weird thing about Margaret Atwood, the writer of The Handmaid's Tale,
Yeah,
is that since she's published in 1985, The Handmaid's Tale has just always had a little bit of extra drama around it,
sure.
and it's been involved in a lot of book burnings.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's been burned like a whole bunch of times. And so in response to that, Margaret and her publisher created, I feel like this is such a creative response. They created an unburnable book.
It's a fireproof book.
It's a fire book.
Oh,
I
I'm
just love
sure.
Margaret's response to things like She just has such a sense of humor about how to respond to some of this stuff, some of this more extreme stuff.
See, I want to be there when, like they're sweeping up after one of those big events and there's just one book there to
Just
offer.
one
And
book.
you're just like, they don't know that it was. So I'm sure that's just
Well,
going
I
to
mean,
be.
at this point, that
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
probably it's known because, like,
Can you imagine the first time that happened? They're like, it won't burn.
oh yeah, that if you didn't know, that could seem suspicious, couldn't it?
you know.
Oh, being human. All
Yeah.
right, I'm gonna take a little bit of my cad red and my doc's purple together, but I want a lot more red in it this time, so it's kind of a brighter color. We're gonna come in and add some layering little leaves. That's so funny. I hadn't even thought of that.
yeah.
It won't burn. Oh, a little more purple into my cad red, but I still want it to be quite red, so put this in here. I just don't want the full force of cad red in it because I'm going to use that for off red.
Mhm.
Though, really, because of how I painted this, could be any handmade. That's the whole point of the outfit is you can't even tell who they are. I mean, well, you can tell who they are, but you can't tell the person that's in the bottom. They're completely hidden.
Right.
The identity. Coming here and just adding a little more. Just popping the color up.
Seems good.
Yeah, but I want the figure to stand out against the background. But yet somehow that sort of fall winter kind of, you know how sometimes you get an early snow before the leaves have had a chance to fully drop.
I think there's like different names for those. Like your first snow, the second snow, the wet snow, the dry snow.
Well, we're going to learn all the snow words now that we live in Michigan, aren't we? We're going to be
They,
snow experts in a few years.
I mean, they said that in PA too, and it just was like,
No, I think Michigan means it really
oh,
intensely.
no, no, I'm not disrespecting or uh, invoking
The
the
Michigan wrath
yeah.
of cold.
I don't need
You're
any
not
ancient.
calling the cold winter down.
No, we're not going to call the Titans down from the mountains.
Okay.
We're just saying that
Tapping, tapping.
snow.
On this outer edge. Yes, snow. So much snow.
They
And cold.
it's yeah, cold and snow. I mean,
We're just tapping this down. I'm leaving lots of dark spaces and I'm just creating little highlights so that when we put the trees over, it looks like there's, it looks like there's little bushes or woods or whatnot behind here.
but we live in like suburbia, so like the roads are plowed the
Oh, that's
next
true.
morning, and the only thing I have to
Tapping
worry.
this up and down. Sorry,
No,
just tapping up and down. They know that. I'm just
yeah, no,
reaffirming it.
yeah, no. I just got to worry about that 25 foot of driveway to get it cleared for the cars, and
Yeah, but that 25 feet of driveway is really like by the time it's really quite a thing. I'm glad it's you because I would be like,
it's
nope, I'm moving to Florida.
man, there are
I
it's a
had to
snowblower.
shovel the driveway. I would be like, oh my goodness. So I so appreciate that.
I, I have to say that snowblowers are a kind of a fun outdoor toy. They go vroom vroom and they eat the snow and they whoosh, it's like a fire hose. It's like I don't know. It's a fun toy to play with sometimes.
I'm trying to make little irregular shapes. So you're just trying to create, kind of like with clouds, you're trying to create those shapes that have variance to them,
But these are shrubbery.
shrubberies. A little more red, little darks of the purple. I don't know why the Little Mermaid song is in my head right now.
Mm.
Just tapping this up and down. I let the roughness of the brush kind of also inform the shape of everything. These little layers, they just build up. This also kind of ties in, I think, to all the little Red Riding Hoods that I have painted because I
Mm.
painted a lot of Red Riding Hoods for Halloween.
It's true. You have. I like
Yeah.
them.
Usually there's a Red Riding Hood in the Halloween, but this year there's this Red Hood.
Mm.
It's a new Red Hood, scarier Red Hood. Though I mean, a wolf that can eat you whole is pretty scary. When you think about it, Little Red's journey is actually pretty scary. That's a big wolf.
Yes.
It's creating that dimensionality. All right. Let us dry the canvas
All
so
right.
we can do the next step. So let's try. Try, 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 try. Try, 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 try. So I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue over towards my Mars black and make a Payne's gray, which is a kind of blue-gray color. Well, blue-black anyways here. I want it to be quite dark, but I want a slight blue cast to it. And I'm using my number, let me get this one here, might be easier to read. My number 6 Raphael sepia round. Because sometimes they're hard to read.
Makes sense.
I'm going to come here and we're going to start planting some thinner trees, some like little spindly trees. And little branches. Spindly little trees. Just little bits. So I want that sort of sense of like, this is a very full, considered little area. This one could go up a little bit, maybe straight. Maybe it's more of a free twig here. Just planting little bits of that tree out there. kind of like a sense of it just being sort of a desperate little wood here. A little more blue to my black. Come right here. I'm going to plant a slightly bigger tree, the larger trunk, so I'm thickening it up here. Brushing that up. Little water to improve flow. Just pulling them in. Kind of trees are sometimes kind of like meditative, but they can also be a little bit, less than exciting. There's a lot of like fussy, busy work. Coming along here, planting another one up. Just fill up the forest. There's little branches coming here and there. Well, we're looking pretty good over here. We got lots of
Yeah.
little trees going on, lots of little branches, a little bit of dimensionality. Let's get a little more black and blue together. Let's come off here and find a nice big tree going up. What's great about trees is if you don't do straight lines, they're even better. So if you've ever felt straight line challenge, I'm just painting this down from the top to the bottom just to improve the flow of the brush. Just pulling little branches. I'm just imagining where the little trees could go. Just kind of canoping over. Sometimes I have little trouble thinking where to plant the next tree. And I'll know that I'm doing that because my brush will circle. It's my brain cycling.
Mm.
I've learned that. Like if my brush is circling, it's going where do I want to put it? And then at some point, you just have to make a decision. Nice big tree. Come up here and just very carefully put out a little branch. Looking good. Just planting the
Just
trees.
putting the forest in.
Putting the forest in. Now I think kind of coming here, I might grab a little bit of my white. And these might be just a little more gray. I think I'll take that one down to here. Just weaving in branches in and out. A little more white in it. Bringing that up, slightly grayer tree. Little scary forest. This little bear trees doing their little bear tree thing. All right, once you have a nice little number of trees in, you're going to want to dry everything, and when we come back, I'll show you what you do next. Okay, so I'm going to take a number 10 Simply Simmons Bright with a hog bristle head. I want kind of a scratchy head. And I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and my titanium white. And I'm going to make a very light color. And I'm going to start to come into my little world here. And add the little snow. It's just the beginning of that. I'm on the edge of the brush. I'm kind of wiggling it in. I wiggle around. I pile it up on there. Get a little glazing liquid just to improve the flow and extend the color. Bring a little snow back up here. Kind of burying the trees. Just coming across in a horizontal kind of rough brushstroke fashion. Around here, sometimes I like to the tree and then a little bit behind the tree coming up. Cross down here. Just back and forth. And then while this is having a little dry, I'm going to take some of that white over to my Payne's Gray and make a very light color. And come to the front of my trees. And sketch in some very light gray highlights on the light side of the tree. Just a little up and down. I'm using my number 6. My number 6 round. You having fun, John? A fun little painting, isn't it?
Yeah, I had my mic muted, but yeah, I do. I think this is nice.
You had your mic muted.
Yeah, sometimes I have to use both hands to do camera stuff, so and I can't reach over and unmute myself.
And just coming on the inside side that, sees this light here. That's what we're doing. We're just making a little reflection while this is having a dry. Sometimes I'll get a little glazing liquid on here. That's just to improve the flow off my brush. A little bit up here. So we're just making these trees just a little more interesting. They're a little more interesting trees.
Yes, they are.
A little more fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that adding the little bits of gray keeps it from being just dead and flat in the world. Highlighting it a little bit. Just a little bit gray and highlighted there. And then come over on the other side and do the same. On that inside edge, the side that's facing the light. That's how you know where it goes. A little rough up and down, kind of sketchy marks. A little rough up and down. This is from a digital design I did a year ago. And it's like digital art is not my forte.
Yeah.
So it's interesting seeing like my little digital sketch design idea
Yeah.
versus like what I'm doing in paint.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, I can see that.
How I do it in paint. That gives those trees a little bit of personality. I think the biggest challenge for today will be that I don't have red cerl paper or
Oh,
black. I'm going to have to do it with blue today, and that's going to be interesting to see
interesting to see.
how that works out.
Yeah.
I don't know yet how it will work out. So I'm like thinking about it, going, hmm, hmm, a lot of blue in this painting for neat blue cerl paper. Cerl paper is the transfer paper for the traceables.
Not some magical paper.
Well, I mean, it's pretty magical. Transfers your line image onto your canvas
That's true.
and is erasable. That's very magical. Just a little rough bark. Just a little rough bark. A little forest. across that branch in front of the tree. Well, goodness gracious. All right. We want to dry everything. We come back, I'll show you what we do next. So I'm going to continue on with my number 10 Simply Simmons Bright. I'm going to grab some white with just much less. It's still got some blue in it, but it's much less blue. And I'm going to begin coming from here. Just rough out what I've got going on here. Just painting it out rough. Might grab a little bit of yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And I just come back with kind of like a dry brush of white. You can kind of see how it just starts to make snow. And I'll come back with like a little bit of blue here and just paint all the colors and it's just really magic. All
Really
right.
is.
Then nice little snow there. And now we're going to dry, thoroughly dry everything. Because for the next step, it has to be dry. So you want to take the traceable and print it out from the website or freehand if you are really great at figures and you want to freehand, that is completely okay. But if you don't want to, I provide this free traceable. Now on the back side, I have a product called Saral paper, Saral. It is this kit right here, Saral paper, transfer paper. And the particular color I have is blue. I put the dark side down. I've taped the pages together and I have where the tape can go down here. And I'm going to find a placement where I feel like I want my figure to be walking. And what I'm trying to make sure is that I don't remove any, like so much detail that I'm bummed. Right? And then when I feel like I have the positioning, then I'm going to tape down the traceable. And sometimes I will get fresh tape for it because the storing of it, you know what I mean? So you can't have it stuck enough is what I'm trying to say. I'll take this tape here. It's got to be stuck perfectly, at least at 3 sides.
Yep.
So it doesn't shift or move. Otherwise, you end up looking like you have a glitch in your drawing. The other trick to this is having a sharp pen or pencil that will be able to press through. So I'm going to come here and, oh, let me put my glasses on so I can really see what I'm doing. It's going to be all glasses all the way down now. And I'm coming across here with my pencil and I'm pressing very, very hard. And you just go over every line. Um, you could have done black or red cerral paper, but white or yellow would have been really tough to do. Really tough.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely obsessed on the Hulu shows for the Handmaid Tale of Offred's winter outfits. The winter outfits, just like, man, it was just wild. It felt like a dark fairy tale, which I guess in a way it is a
Yeah.
dark, dark fairy tale.
I didn't have a chance to see it, so
Yeah,
I think I've been. Oh, maybe I just not my
not really your book.
no.
Not really a book. But you like Children of Men.
Yeah.
So if you like Children of Men, actually, you might like Handmaid's Tale. Except it doesn't have. It's fictional. It's speculative fiction. Is less science fictiony.
Mm.
Though they have some science fiction in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna do any spoilers. Don't worry, guys. Even though the book came out in 1984.
Right. So I I
I
feel
just
that.
might have interested some of you into reading it. But basically, as I'm tracing this, it takes place in a future dystopian world where this isn't spoiling anything. The birth rate has dropped, and there's been a civil war, and there's this new place called Gilead, and in Gilead they have all these different rules than we have here, and this different society to address this fertility problem that's going on. And so it's fascinating how it's written, and the different aspects of it are like incredible. It's a really good book, but it's a scary book. It's a very scary book.
Yeah.
Show is also good, but also scary. All right. So if everything went well, what I will have here is a faint line drawing.
And it would appear you do.
And for some reason it didn't do this, so I'll do the graphite going down just so I have it. Now, I'm going to have to do something strange here to keep this on, but let's do that when we come back. Let's make that the next step. So I don't want to lose this in any way, and I'm going to take my number 6 Raphael sepia round. I'm going to get a little black paint, and I want to get it on a fine, fine point, and I'm going to very carefully go over all these lines with paint. With a very, very fine line. I wouldn't necessarily normally do this, but because the figure is against a winter scene and there is a almost a flattening effect in winter,
Yeah.
the flattening effect of this lining will not go against the painting.
Yeah. Is this going to make it harder for you to paint her in later?
No, it's going to make it easier.
Oh.
This is going to help me keep all of my fine detail work.
Now, if you had an acrylic marker, could you do that there?
You could absolutely do this with an acrylic marker.
Because I might, if I were doing this, I might go, Posca pen time.
I have a Posca pen.
Although I like using Posca pen.
Posca pens are wonderful. Nice positioning. Nice positioning of the figure.
Yeah.
Happy with it. We didn't lose too much of our detailing. And it's going to leave me the room to do the flare. And you could absolutely do a Posca pen. I'll do the finest I can handle here. This is the white bonnet. All right. So what that should do is give us a sense of where everything is, and we won't be losing it. To do the next step, I will want to dry that because I don't want to drag or smear my lines. And we come back, I'll tell you what you do next. So now I'm going to take my number 10 Simply Simmons Bright, and I'm going to grab a little bit of my blue and black and make a blue-gray.
That's the
Ultramarine blue, Mars black, and titanium white. Is
hog
that what you...
bristle.
Hmm?
Hog bristle,
This is the Hog Bristle number 10 Simply Simmons Bright,
not the synthetic. Yeah.
not the synthetic. And I'm going to take a little shadow and I'm going to draw a little line. It's going to widen out. I may change that in, but I want room to alter it. And then we'll grab a little bit of brown. Come through here and shade some snow perhaps. I'm back into my white. And I may have to put out some more white paint because I ran out. I use about twice the white that I do of any other color. A little bit of my blue here and grab some brown in it. And it's going to grade a little bit, my phthalo blue and my burnt sienna.
That's a serious shadow.
That is a serious, serious shadow. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of my yellow, a little bit of my white. I'm going to come along here, this back side. Grab a little bit of white and blue. But I want it to be quite light. Just brush a little highlight into the snow over here. Then I'm going to come back into my gray, my shadow color, make a lighter snow color. And kind of think nudge that edge a little less harsh of a line. Back and forth. I'm just making little adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So the shadow's there, but it's a little broken.
Ah, yeah, that does make it cool.
A little bit of blue. Right here, I just used the fluff of the brush. It's okay. Over here and use the fluff of the brush to make it soft edge. And then I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to grab my round brush. This is my number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan brush. I'm going to rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it. And go ahead and take a little bit of my ultramarine blue over to my black. Even though I'm going to do this really cool thing with my splatter effect for the snow, I'm still going to put a deeper dark shadow under where the cloak is. Taper it there. Now we have that slightly darker shadow underneath where the cloak is. Okay. For the next step, we will want everything dry. All right, now I'm going to take a 1/4 inch Catalyst Princeton angle brush because I want to be able to have something that I can work a small area in. That's what I'm interested in. I'm going to take my ultramarine blue and my phthalo, my ultramarine blue and my burnt sienna. I'm going to make a gray with a blue tone to it. I'm going to get some white involved. And I'm going to start painting in the bonnet. Just paint in that bonnet. With this gray color. Not bad. For the next bits, I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone and my cad red together. Quite a distinctive color, and I'm going to add a bit of Da'ox to it. I'm just wiping off the extra paint on this brush. I'm going to come here and come underneath the hand with that dark purple. A little bit here. Bring that down. Just starting to put the shadows in. The dark values. I'm bringing this up at a little taper. So we're just starting to create that sense of depth. Some underneath the little scarf here. Back of the bonnet. That was the hood of the cloak. A little bit of a dark shadow there. And I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red and Quin Magenta. Mix a tiny bit of the purple into it. Still a fairly dark color, but slightly lighter. Just brushing it in. Slightly lighter red. Just kind of getting the little ghost of it worked out. And you can see how the black lines help me hold it even as I'm painting it in. They really make a big difference that I don't lose the structure.
Right.
It doesn't mean I won't vanish them as I paint it. It just means that I'm using them right now to hold my place. There we go. Just painting that forward. Very carefully. I'm going to glaze over the arm here. You'll notice that it leaves the dark line underneath. So I can see it again for later. So what we should have is a red figure central. What we're going to want to do is dry it, and I'll tell you what we do when we come back. Now I need to make some radial light that's coming out behind my figure, and I have to decide how I want to do that. And I think I'm going to take my round number 8 D'Artagnan brush, and I'm going to make sure it's clean. I'm going to grab a lot of glazing liquid on it, and a little bit of yellow, and a lot of white. Let's see if we can do that this way from here. I'm going to come right out from the head. Glazing liquid is helping me get a slightly transparent. I could do this with uh, zinc white as well. Right around here, just a little bit. Brighten that up. Kind of blend that, create that flare, that drama. Dramatic.
We like the drama.
In our paintings, we do. Maybe not so much in our life.
You know what else I like?
Mm.
Llamas, because we're rhyming.
Llamas, because we're rhyming. Come along here and make sure that the kind of a little bit.
Kind of cool sun. Right there.
Yeah.
I think that's a technical thing that happens at night, or as the sun goes down. It goes.
A little yellow in there just to make sure that it's bright. And you just do that till you're happy with your flare. Nice little flare coming off of our figure. A little bit of exciting lighting. Now I may want to turn my canvas a little bit because I might want to exaggerate the flares.
No problem.
Like you do. I'm going to grab a little white and yellow. I'll come along this one and you don't want to paint out what you painted. That's why you're using the glazing liquid. All right. So once you have a solar flare, you're going to want to dry all of that. When we come back, I'll show you what we're going to paint on the figure next. So I'm going to continue on with my 1/4" angle brush, and I'm going to grab some of the white over to my ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and make a lighter gray than what I have here. Begin to dry brush this over. Make sure I've got my vision enhancers on. Those are important parts of the that looks pretty good. Getting some headway there. I'm going to grab a little bit of my Cad Red and Quin Magenta. I'm going to just very carefully, using the tip of the brush, a little highlight. Along here, the top of the and then come down around here.
Yeah, I like that bright red.
Come up the front. Quin Magenta, Cad Red. Just really improving the depth of this color here. And I'm going to come along here. Make sure that I've got sleeve in. Definitely the top of the hand. Now once I've gotten that, I'm going to come back to my Doc's purple. Mix it in to make my deep shadow color. Come underneath this little sleeve and add a little bit of a shadow. Come down below the arm. Add a bit of a shadow. The front of the hand. And I'm going to come along that fold and add a little shadow. A little bit coming up, just creating little folds of fabric. Come up the front a little bit. Come underneath the scarf a little bit. In the center of the hood. And very carefully under the fold. And at this point, the hood should be dry again. So now I'm going to take some white. I'm going to very carefully, I want to make sure that there's no pink in my brush. I got to rinse it out thoroughly. Because I want it to be white.
Super white.
Super
clean.
Super clean, super white. Get a little bit of my gray. It's a very light gray. So we're just playing those two things. I wipe my brush off and get some more white. We're just playing the white against the little gray. And creating a little bit of a shading. Not too bad. Now back into my Cad Red Quinacridone Magenta. Let's make sure we've got a nice Here we go. Get a little more of the shadow color. A little more of the shadow color. Darkening the cloak there. Just improving that as I go. Now I'm going to take just my cad red, come to the top and along the back line of the hood, using the corner of my brush. The corner of my brush is a lot like a detail brush. Now I'm going to come to the top of the arm. Top of the hand. And I'm going to make a slightly less dark forward hand where it bends. Slightly less dark. And come back into my cad red. And kind of come here with a little bit of my cad red. And like down the back here. Rolling it forward. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow to my red. A little more yellow there. The top of the arm. A little bit across the hand. Just so that the hand shows out. Little glow on the cape. Grab white one more time. And I'm going to come underneath with my blue black, my ultramarine blue, and my Mars black. A little bit darker down there underneath her. Okay. All right, this is looking pretty good. Now I want to dry everything,
Really?
and when we come back, you like it?
Yeah, I'm really liking it.
He nodded.
Yeah, no, I really like it.
Yeah, when we come back, I'll show you what we do next. This next part should be kind of fun, kind of nerve-wracking, kind of both. So I want to create the idea of a little snow flurry kind of coming up, but I want to mask everything. So I'm going to take a paper towel and kind of lay it here. And you can have a little splatter kind of up anywhere, because if you've ever seen it, snow flurries kind of blow and bluster, especially when the snow is light and powdery. And to get that, I'm going to use that fluid acrylic, the titanium white. I'm going to put that on my palette. You could thin your heavy body paint if you needed to get it to work, where you thin it with water or airbrush medium. But I like to use the fluid paint because it gives me a high pigmentation and a good splatter. Don't need that much of it. Just put out a little bit. And then I've got a toothbrush here. I'm going to use this to create a little low splatter. Tap, tap, tap. Like there's just a little bit of rough coming up. And then I can also come back and do a few little particulates here and there. Like there's just
little snows out there.
just a little bit kind of just gently up. I don't want a ton of it, right?
Right.
This is where I want it to be kind of more noticeable. Back in there, tap, 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 tap. Again, these are just little snow flurries.
I like it. Adds a little dynamic action.
Little dynamic action, a little movement. Man, I love that. That worked out really well.
I really did.
To sign this painting, I will have to dry it thoroughly. So let's dry our paintings. When we come back, I will show you how I'm going to sign it, and then I'll tell you what we do next. Okay, so now that I've dried all the splatter, I'm going to take a small detail brush. This is a #1 Raphael Precision. I'm going to get it wet. And because I have red in here the way that I do, I get to sign in red again.
Ooh.
Something I never get to do, but I've been able to do the 13 Days of Halloween a few times. It's been actually kind of nice. I'm going to just very carefully put down a pretty little signature so that people know who painted this one. Right here. Woo! All right, now John's going to make me big, and I'm going to tell you what's next in your art journey. All right, the first thing that you've got to do is just congratulate yourself on finishing this video and this painting, because that's a huge deal. This was kind of a big project, and you have done something really amazing. I hope you enjoyed our talk about Margaret Atwood, and if you hadn't read her work, it's considered one of the great novels of her generation, and so you might enjoy it. A lot of other people have. It's very popular in book clubs. I've done fan art a few times now, based on novels, and actually done several pieces based on novels now. So this seems to be a thing I do. I don't know which one I will do next, but I'll say that your favorite literature, your favorite characters, your favorite worlds are wonderful, wonderful sources of inspiration. Fan art is something that you do personally for yourself. You're not doing it for sale. You're not doing it to, make money. The idea of a handmaid belongs to Margaret Atwood,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I am, as a fan, doing this artwork to celebrate my love of that for my own personal life, and I'm sharing that with you so you can also celebrate your love of that this 13 Days of Halloween, or Sherpaween, as we should say.
Sure.
So that's just the thing to think about. That I always like to let people know on fan art, and I'll mention it at the beginning again, but on fan art, that's got to be a for personal use kind of a thing. It's what you do to say, I love this science fiction show, or I love this book, or I love this comic, and you want to live with more of that in your life. That's what that's for. And by the way, I'd love to see yours. I've got a group on Facebook, the Art Sherpa Official. You're welcome to come by and join it and share your original version of this there. You will find that everyone is really super nice, not like Gilead at all. Definitely more like Canada, um, which is funny in and of itself.
Yeah.
That's not a spoiler. Don't worry. That's baseline stuff. And so come by and share that because I'd love to see your version. I'd love to hear why you painted, why you chose to paint this one in the 13 Days of Halloween. I think that's going to be as fascinating as the finished paintings. With that said, you've got to be good to yourself. Let's be good to each other, and I'll see you at an easel real soon. Bye bye.